Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 1, Text 13. Naishatu saha chunmam Chakto dhammapi bhadate Pibantam twanmakam bhoja Chutam harikatam ritam Naishatu saha chunmam Chakto dhammapi bhadate Pibantam twanmukam bhoja Chutam harikatam ritam Naishatu saha chunmam Chakto dhammapi bhadate Pibantam twanmukam bhoja Chutam harikatam ritam Naishatu saha shunmam Chakto dhammapi bhadate Pibantam twanmukam bhoja Chutam harikatam ritam
Naishatitu saha shunmam Chakto dhammapi bhadate Bantam twanmukam bhoja Chutam harikatam ritam
Vaishnavis. Na, not. Esha, all this. Atidu saha, extremely difficult to bear. Chut, hunger. Mam, unto me. Chakta udam, even after giving up drinking water. Api, also. Bhadate, does not hinder. Pibantam, while drinking. Twat mukha amboja chutam, emanating from your lotus mouth. Harikata Amritam, the nectar of topics concerning Krishna. Translation. This is Pritchett Maharaj speaking to Shukadeva Goswami. Because of my vow on the verge of death, I have given up even drinking water. Yet, because I am drinking the nectar of topics about Krishna, which is flowing from the lotus mouth of your lordship, my hunger and thirst, which are extremely difficult to bear, cannot hinder me. Purport. To prepare to meet death in 7 days, Maharaja Parikshit gave up all food and drink. As a human being, he was certainly both hungry and thirsty, and therefore Shukadeva Goswami might have wanted to stop narrating the transcendental topics of Krishna. But despite his fast, Maharaj Parikshit was not at all fatigued. Quote, "The hunger and thirst from my fast do not disturb me," he said. Once, when I felt very thirsty, I went to the ashrama of Shamik Muni to drink water, but the Muni did not supply it. I therefore wrapped a dead snake over his shoulder, and that is why I was cursed by the Brahmana boy. Now, however, I am quite fit. I am not at all disturbed by my hunger and thirst. This indicates that although on the material platform there are disturbances from hunger and thirst, on the spiritual platform there is no such thing as fatigue. The entire world is suffering because of spiritual thirst. Every living being is Brahman, or spirit soul, and needs spiritual food to satisfy his hunger and thirst. Unfortunately, however, the world is completely unaware of the nectar of Krishna Katha. The Krishna conscious movement is therefore a boon to philosophers, religionists, and people in general. There is certainly a charming attraction in Krishna and Krishna Katha. Therefore, the absolute truth is called Krishna, the most attractive. The word Amrita is also an important reference to the moon, and the word Ambuja means lotus. The pleasing moonshine and pleasing fragrance of the lotus combine to bring pleasure to everyone hearing Krishna Katha from the mouth of Shukadeva Goswami. As it is said, Matirna Krishna Padatasvatova Mito Bipadyeta Grihavartanam Adantago Vishatam Tameshram Puna Charvada Charvananam. Because of their uncontrolled senses, persons too addicted to materialistic life make progress toward hellish conditions and repeatedly chew that which has already been chewed. Their inclinations toward Krishna are never aroused, either by the instructions of others, by their own efforts, or by a combination of both. 7th Canto, Chapter 5, Text 30. At the present moment, all of human society is engaged in the business of chewing the chewed. Puna charvada charvananam. People are prepared to undergo mrityu, samsara vartmani, taking birth in one form, dying, accepting another form, and dying again. To stop this repetition of birth and death, Krishna Katha, or Krishna consciousness, is absolutely necessary. But unless one hears Krishna Katha from a realized soul like Shukadeva Goswami, one cannot relish the nectar of Krishna Katha, which puts an end to all material fatigue, and enjoy the blissful life of transcendental existence. In relation to the Krishna consciousness movement, we actually see that those who have tasted the nectar of Krishna Katha lose all material desires. whereas those who cannot understand Krishna or Krishna Katha regard the Krishna conscious life as brainwashing and mind control. While the devotees enjoy spiritual bliss, the non-devotees are surprised that the devotees have forgotten material hankerings. Translation again. Because of my vow on the verge of death, I have given up even drinking water. Yet because I am drinking the nectar of topics about Krishna, which is flowing from the lotus mouth of your lordship, my hunger and thirst, which are extremely difficult to bear, cannot hinder me. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I like to focus on this verse from the 10th canto, chapter 1, as Shukadeva Goswami and Pritchett Maharaj prepare to unfurl the topics of Lord Krishna in the 10th canto. Pritchett Maharaj is sensing that Shukadeva Goswami might want to stop the flow from Shukadeva's lotus mouth, thinking, let's give Maharaj Pritchett time for drinking water or eating something. But Maharaj Pritchett, as you're hearing, doesn't want a bar of that. He's reminding himself, once before I took a break, I did something because of thirst, and look at the situation it put me in. I was cursed by the Brahmana boy to die in 7 days. So I'm not going to take heed again in such a crucial situation. I'm not going to give any notice to my hunger and thirst. Please don't stop, because if you stop, I'll be on the bodily platform in terms of noting my hunger and thirst. So don't stop. Of course, Pritchett Maharaj is no ordinary living entity. He's a pure devotee who saw Krishna in the womb of his mother, protecting him from the Brahmastra, the localized, personalized nuclear weapon sent by Ashwatthama. But he's showing us the potential of bhakti. Sometimes we hear about these extraordinary situations. I Pritchett Maharaj saying, don't worry about my hunger and thirst. Go on speaking the nectar. We might say, well, that's way up there, and we are way down there. And so it's nice to hear these things, but meanwhile, back home, down here on the ground, we got problems. As Prabhupada writes in Nectar of Devotion, these situations show you the peak potential of bhakti. If you can just get one drop of the ocean that these situations are demonstrating, these topmost situations are demonstrating, if you can just get a drop of it, how successful your life is. As Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains in Chaitanya Charitamrita, love of Krishna is like an immense ocean, limitless ocean, and just one drop from that ocean can drown the whole universe. So we shouldn't just brush aside these occurrences like Pritchett Maharaj, beyond all hunger and thirst, saying, oh, well, that's so far beyond us, no need to pay any attention to it. These descriptions rally us. If we can just get a little bit of what's described, our life is successful. So what about this? It's a very subtle purport here. I don't know if you've noticed. But on the one hand, the purport acknowledges Pritchett Maharaj's human side. Yes, bhakti has, of course, a human side to it. Look at Arjuna in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Certainly he's displaying a human side. Sometimes we think we are human beings having a spiritual experience, when actually it's the reverse. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. So we acknowledge in bhakti the human side, and that's being done in this purport. As Prabhupada writes, as a human being, he, Pritchett Maharaj, was certainly both hungry and thirsty, and therefore Shukadeva Goswami might have wanted to stop narrating the transcendental topics of Krishna. But despite his fast, Maharaj Pritchett was not at all fatigued. And he's quoted, "The hunger and thirst from my fast do not disturb me." So you might say, well, let's make up our mind here. Is he hungry and thirsty or is he not? Which is it? We have to go deeper. Go deeper into understanding the potency of Krishna Katha, how we are not the body, and even though bodily urges can be there, it doesn't mean you have to act on them. Pritchett Maharaj is demonstrating that. He's presenting himself as a conditioned soul. I was thirsty and I stopped by the cottage, the ashram of Shamik Muni, hoping to get some water. The sage was deep in meditational trance, samadhi, and didn't notice me, but I just became a little incensed and I wrapped a dead snake around his shoulders and then left. And then his son, Shringi, cursed me to die in 7 days. So this all sounds totally unbearable. His thirst, what's wrong with being thirsty? He just wanted some water. He got a little ticked off and wrapped a dead snake around the rishi's shoulders while the rishi was deep in meditation. And for that, the rishi's son cursed Pritchett Maharaj to die in 7 days? What's going on here? But this is all divine arrangement for such a personality as Pritchett Maharaj. Just like in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna fell into Maya, no doubt. He's in Maya in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in case you haven't noticed. But it's a Maya arranged by Krishna to teach us something. That bhakti acknowledges your human side and can deal with it. This is a doubt that often comes into our mind. I was listening to Yadubar Prabhu yesterday, and I could see how he was hinting at this point, that we have a side of us that we need to acknowledge, and how do we deal with that? So yes, bhakti deals with your human side, just as Arjuna in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita was wrestling with his human side. He gave the best excuses to Krishna. No one can come up with better excuses than Arjuna. Still, after he presented the perplexity, the bafflement of his human side, Krishna called him a fool, indirectly. You're speaking big words, but you don't know what you're talking about. So we wonder, yes, bhakti is so sweet. I often hear this around the world in my travels. Bhakti is so sweet and wonderful, but... What to do with our human side? Pritchett Maharaj is showing you the peak potential of hearing and chanting about Krishna. You can't deny this. It's meant to make us aspire for a higher level, rather than try to solve all our problems on the material level. And that's what Maya makes look so attractive. Work it out on the material level. That's the real level that's our life is based on. Yeah, all this spiritual stuff, right, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. Sure, all glories, but meanwhile, down here on the ground, we got problems, we got wants, we got needs, we've got desires. Maybe in our old age, we'll be able to access pure bhakti. But for now, we've got to seek solutions totally on the material plane because that's what counts. How does Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, hearing and chanting about Krishna, add up in your bank account? Well, it depends on which kind of accounts you have. Pritchard Maharaj is showing you the real wealth. And he doesn't want that real wealth, the flow of that real wealth, he doesn't want that flow to stop. Because it's making him oblivious to his material situation. Some people think that's bad. How's he going to function in this world? But look at his situation. He was emperor of the world. Yet, he's cursed to die in 7 days. So he's showing you what our real situation is, what the real imperatives of our situation are. Pritchard Maharaj knew that he would die in 7 days. We don't know if we're going to be alive 7 minutes from now. You just have this feeling that you'll go on and on and on. But how do you know that you're going to be alive 7 minutes from now? Well, you know, we're here in New Zealand. No nuclear weapons are aimed at New Zealand. Things will just go on and on. Got a few earth tremors, a few earthquakes happen, a few cyclones, but otherwise, you know, life, the sun goes up, the sun goes down. We are so trained and brainwashed to focus on just live a long life. Just exist. Survive at least, and then certainly try to thrive. And if you can do that for 70, 80 years, wow. So as we were hearing in the verse yesterday, Prayana Parisha Sabda Kalabasmin Yugajana. In this age of Kali, people are short-lived. Now you might say, wait a minute, short-lived? Isn't the problem in so many first world countries like New Zealand, the agedness of the population? So many elderly people and the young people aren't producing enough children? Isn't that the problem? So what is this about? Short life. But right here on this earth, mundane facts will show you that the lifespan of a human being is nothing. There are trees in California, Yadubar Prabhu has probably seen them, that have been around since the time of Krishna's manifest appearance on this planet, 5,000 years old. There are other trees in the UK, as well as parts of the USA, that scientists say, all glories to the scientists, they say 2,000 years old. There are fish, whales, and sharks, and turtles that live for 200 years. And we think we're so advanced if we can squeeze out 80 years. What does Shukadeva Goswami say in the second canto of Bhagavatam? Kim pramatasya bahubi parokshaya hayanaryaha. What's the value of a long life in of itself? He's really shaking the rug from underneath us. Why should you aspire just to have a long life? Better to have one moment of bhakti in a short life, and that means your life is successful. What's the use in having a long life bewildered by illusion? No point to it. But if you have a short life with just a few moments of Krishna consciousness, that's the greatest success. So Bhagavatam is totally reconfiguring our conceptions. What's the use in living long, devoid of consciousness of Krishna? So Pritchard Maharaj is ready to go. He knows he's got 7 days. As I said, we don't know that we have 7 minutes. It was Krishna's plan, just like it was Krishna's plan for Arjuna to fall into Maya. Srila Prabhupada once explained, Arjuna was not in Yoga Maya, he was in Mahamaya. by Krishna's arrangement, a special incident. Similarly, Pritchard Maharaj, he's inspired by the Supreme Lord to be in a little bit of illusion, getting angry at the rishi. No response. I just want a cup of water. Can't even give me some welcoming words or a straw mat to sit on. Nothing. You're so cold and indifferent. I'll put this dead snake around your shoulders to symbolize the character that you're displaying. Why is Pritchard Maharaj acting in that way? Well, why was Arjuna acting in his way? This is Krishna's arrangement for something special to happen. There were two things regarding Pritchard Maharaj's bewilderment. First of all, Krishna wanted Srimad Bhagavatam to be spoken and Pritchard Maharaj to hear it. As you may know from Nectar Devotion, Shukadeva Goswami attained perfection by talking about Krishna, Kirtan, and Pritchard Maharaj achieved perfection by hearing about Krishna. So Krishna was provoking an incident so that Bhagavatam could be spoken and heard. Furthermore, it's time for Kali Yuga to come. And as long as Pritchard Maharaj is around, Kali Yuga can't come. But people want Kali Yuga. Jivas, living entities, conditioned souls want Kali Yuga. Can you believe that? That you wanted this present age of quarrel and darkness and hypocrisy, madness? We didn't really want that per se, all those negative things, but we thought, just give me the sense gratification, and then there'll be peace for me and peace for the world. But no, by the gross material desires, a gross material age of darkness comes about. So living entities want what Kali Yuga is offering, and Krishna's fulfilling that desire. All right, you want the madness of savage life? Here you can have it, but Pritchard Maharaj has to go, because as long as Pritchard Maharaj is around, no Kali Yuga can come. Third reason, it's time for Pritchard Maharaj to go back to Godhead. That time will come for us all. That time with its option to go back to Godhead will come to us all. So Pritchard Maharaj is demonstrating, I'm ready. He even says, let the curse happen. I don't care. Just go on glorifying Krishna. The famous verse in the first canto, he's cursed to die by the bite of a snake bird. Let it happen. Let the snake bird come. I don't care. Let death come. Whatever you do, whatever happens, don't stop talking about Krishna. So you might say, well, nice to hear, but how does that apply to us? There's a very instructive verse in Bhagavad Gita, the end of 2nd chapter, in which Krishna tells Arjuna, Apuryamanam achala pratishtam. Just like so many rivers pour into the ocean, but the ocean is steady in that it doesn't overflood the shoreline, unless it's climate change. But normally speaking, the rivers pour into the ocean, and the ocean is steady in its capacity. Similarly, Krishna is explaining, material desires may come to the aspiring yogi, but because of his immersion in devotional service, the yogi is fixed and doesn't act on the material desires even though they're present. This is real mysticism. Just like in this verse, you're seeing real mysticism. Pritchard Maharaj acknowledging, yes, my body feels hunger and thirst, but I'm absorbed in hearing about Krishna, so therefore I'm not at all disturbed by what's happening with my body. Of course, as we heard yesterday from Yadubar Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada demonstrating the perfection of that reality with his completely spiritualized body. as you heard, I'll remind you, as Yadavar Prabhu was explaining, he was massaging Prabhupada during Prabhupada's final days, and Prabhupada's body was, to anyone's vision, looked like it was going through an ordeal, the ordeal of giving up the body. And so Yadavar Prabhu asked Prabhupada, are you suffering? Actually, some doctors present had said that an ordinary human being would have been constantly crying out in pain. So he asked Prabhupada, are you suffering? And Prabhupada's response was, no. He's displaying the perfection of what Pritchett Maharaj is demonstrating. That the body, it may be this, it may be that, it may be feeling this, it may be feeling that, but I'm in another dimension. I'm hearing about Krishna. Don't stop. If you stop, actually, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains in his commentary, Pritchett Maharaj is implying, if you stop, then I'll start focusing on the material pain. So don't stop. So Shukadeva Goswami didn't stop. So back to this verse from Bhagavad Gita. You should study the purport. It will really present a massive illumination for you. Because Prabhupada writes that this is the secret of Krishna consciousness, that even though material desires are present, because you have a material body, you don't act on those desires. You've lost the inclination to act on desires, even though the desires are present. How does that sound? Sounds more doable, doesn't it? Maybe hearing about Prabhupada and Pritchett Maharaj you thought, well, that's way above our paycheck. But what is present in that purport to the Bhagavad Gita verse, apuryamanam achala prachistam. The ocean remains fixed, although so many rivers are pouring into it. Similarly, so Prabhupada explains in the purport, because you have a material desire, because you have a material body, there will be material desires. Pragmatic fact. We have to tolerate the fact that we have a material body and what it brings. Don't become bewildered. Oh, material desires, oh no. What do you have? You got a material body? That means material desires. Face the reality and then learn how to tolerate. Does learning how to tolerate simply mean you bite your fingernails? I can't. No. Yes, I mean no. The purport is emphasizing immersion in devotional service, which, because of that immersion, just like Pritchett Maharaj is demonstrating the perfection of immersion, what is in the purport in Bhagavad Gita gives you, even on the beginning level, great scope for rising in your spiritual life. Even though the material desires are present, because you have a material body, you can lose the inclination to act on those desires, even though they're present, because you're full in devotional service. So this is the goal for every ashram, householder, brahmachari, sannyas, how to be full in devotional service. Different ashrams have different styles for doing that, but still the goal is the same. How to have a Krishna service-centered life so that you can have an opportunity to ignore material desires, even though they're present, because you're caught up in something else. You're absorbed in something else. So I love that verse from the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It gives those down here on the ground, it gives us hope and a program, a strategy, a way forward. It's realistic. Because you have a material body, you have material desires. You might wonder, when will the material desires stop? When you stop having a material body. Does that mean you're doomed? No, because you can become full in devotional service so that even though the desires are present, you have lost the inclination to act on them. It's very mystical. So you see, there's complete hope, complete opportunity. This is the power of bhakti. So in the purport of today's verse, we also heard Prabhupada making quips about how materialists can't understand Krishna or Krishna Katha. They regard the Krishna conscious life as brainwashing and mind control. We want to be brainwashed. We want our brain to be clean. People are so crazy, they don't understand the value of having a clean brain. And therefore, we have a situation today in which the young men since boyhood are drowning in porn. The ladies are devastated by trying to have a successful, normal relationship, and they're emotionally devastated. The men's intelligence is warped because they've been viewing porn since the age of sometimes 8 years old. So here we are trying to wash brains. Not only washing brains, but we're trying to control our mind. You're trying to control your mind? Ooh, mind control. So we are the positive way of those two so-called negativities. Clean brains and a mind under control. So Prabhupada here is standing up for the potency of Krishna Katha. He's pointing out from his experience that he has seen what Krishna Katha can do for devotees. And we have also seen the flip side, what will happen to devotees when they stop their immersion in Krishna Katha. So bhakti is about developing an urgency and eagerness to hear about Krishna. Just like material life is about developing an eagerness for more money, more sense gratification, bhakti is something else. Where is my eagerness, my longing to hear about Krishna, to chant Hare Krishna? When we start chanting Hare Krishna at first, we have a mentality of, let me get through this. Let me get through those 16 rounds. If I don't do 16 rounds, everyone looks down on me. They always ask, are you chanting 16 rounds? Okay, Hare Krishna. Let's just squeeze those rounds out. Getting near the end, number 15. One more left. Oh. Then you finish your 16 rounds and then put the beads aside. Okay, finally finished with that. Now real life can begin. This is the mentality of our conditioning. But you'll notice a change if you stick to the sadhana bhakti. You'll notice a change. It may take years, but so what? What's the value of a long life wasted by inexperience? Better a short life in which you have some victory in chanting Hare Krishna. Pranam Vijayate, Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. So after some time, you'll notice when you get to round number 16, how do you feel? Oh no, it's coming to an end. You feel like you want to go back and start all over again. Those 15 rounds I did before number 16, I wish I could just repeat them. Or I wish the end wasn't in sight. Why can't I just go on chanting and chanting? Why do I have to stop at 16? That's a sign, that's a symptom that your spiritual health is returning. When someone is talking about Krishna, when you're reading about Krishna, and you just don't want them to stop. So some of you may know that I've been working on, for the BBT, the production of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Who doesn't know about that? Raise your hands. Everyone knows about it. Oh. Let me remind you anyway. 5 volumes of 700 pages plus each. Now, Srila Prabhupada started Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Did you know that, Yadubar Prabhu and Jai Srila? He started it. He did the first 25 verses. And then for some reason he stopped. And he made his fabulous summary study of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu called Nectar of Devotion. I hope you will, when you read the whole Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, you'll be shocked how ingeniously Prabhupada was able to condense all that into one book called Nectar of Devotion. It's just inconceivable. Just like when you read Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And I've pointed out, I think Teachings of Lord Chaitanya has become a forgotten book because you have Chaitanya Charitamrita and you think Teachings of Lord Chaitanya is not necessary. But again, inconceivable how Prabhupada fitted all the shiksha, all the teachings of Chaitanya Charitamrita into one book. You've got his instructions, his shiksha to Rupa Goswami, to Sanatan Goswami, to Prakashananda Saraswati, to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and the discussion with Ramananda Roy. It's all condensed in Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So I heartily recommend that you don't forget about Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. I listen to it on audio while I'm taking breakfast and lunch usually. So similarly, Nectar Devotion is such a fabulous book. So in this edition of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, we're halfway through it in terms of getting ready to print. 2 volumes are completely ready for the printer. 3 volumes we're still working on. So you have purports by Srila Prabhupada, who started Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. You have also some scattered purports by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who commented on certain verses from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in his Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then, of course, the profuse commentaries by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Jiva Goswami. Why is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion, so essential? Srila Prabhupada called Nectar of Devotion the law book of the Krishna Conscious Society. The law book, which is mostly about Krishna's qualities, different levels of ecstasy and bhakti. Basically, Nectar of Devotion and the work it's based on, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, they're textbooks of pure and perfect emotion. By reading these books, you lose all traces of impersonalism. There's so many descriptions of ecstasies, sub-ecstasies, preliminary ecstasies, permanent ecstasies. The nomenclature of all these ecstatic symptoms is so scientifically precise. It's what's taking us so long to produce these volumes. It's because the first editors back in 1967 or so who worked on Prabhupada's Nectar of Devotion, they couldn't understand this Rasa Shastra. It was Vyabhicharis and Anubhavas and Sanchari Bhavas, and they tried their best to cope with it. So we've taken 10 years to sort all this out. The science of all the different ecstatic emotions. So sometime in the coming year, you'll have it. For those of you who have sufficiently studied Prabhupada's books, Nectar of Devotion, we're working hard to prepare first-class translations of these Goswami classics. You already have Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and then there'll be Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu coming and others. But first-class translations, as we always point out, painstakingly done. Otherwise, devotees think, oh, when I'm in Vrindavan, I go to Lowy Bazaar, and I just get this book, that book. It's all the same. There's a huge difference. So, Krishna Katha. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the Acharyas explain that there are three categories of Krishna Katha. Number one, Krishna's pastimes, his leelas in Vrindavan. Number two, his city pastimes, his leelas in Mathura and Dwarka. And number three, and you'd be surprised how this is the category, number three is Krishna's leaving Vrindavan. That's in its own category. It's such a monumental event. So number one, Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. Number two, Krishna's city pastimes in Mathura and Dwarka. And number three, Krishna's leaving Vrindavan. And then the Acharyas go on to explain that there are three different types of devotees. Number one, those following in the footsteps of the residents of Mathura and Dwarka, those following in the footsteps of the city devotees. Number two, those following in the footsteps of the inhabitants of Vrindavan. And number three, those who are attracted to both. So the question would be, how does Rupa Goswami satisfy everyone? Because he explains, or the Acharyas commenting on his verses explain that the city devotees, those following in the footsteps of the city devotees of Mathura and Dwarka, they don't mind. Of course, they like hearing about the Dwarka and Mathura pastimes. That's right up their alley, so to speak. And they don't mind at all hearing about Krishna leaving Vrindavan because they know where Krishna's coming. He's coming to Mathura and Dwarka. They don't even mind hearing about Braj pastimes because they're thinking, Vasudeva Nandana will soon come to Mathura and Dwarka. And he'll be telling tales of Vrindavan, and we'll enjoy in that way. So yeah, Vrindavan pastimes, okay. But he's Vasudeva Nandana. He's the son of Vasudeva. He's coming. So they view Braj Leela in that way, due to their particular taste. But what about those following in the footsteps of the residents of Vrindavan? What about them and their hearing of Krishna's city pastimes? Doesn't do it for them. They're thinking, when's he coming back? When's he coming back? Simply hearing about what he's doing in Mathura and Dwarka just puts us in anxiety. You're implying he's going to be there forever. There's uncertainty. Will he come back? Will he come back? He said he's coming back. Will he come back? Even for those following in the footsteps of the residents of Vrindavan, the Vrindavan pastimes produce anxiety in them, not material anxiety. That, is this going to come to an end? There's a certain level of pure love of Krishna, prema vaichitya, in which when the devotee in Vrindavan is with Krishna, still the devotee is feeling the anxiety of separation. So much so that sometimes Srimati Radharani is with Krishna, but she's overwhelmed with feelings that Krishna's not there. This is the top level of love of Krishna. So the point is that even the inhabitants of Vrindavan have some anxiety, transcendental anxiety. Is this going to come to an end? So even hearing about Braj Leela has a trace of transcendental anxiety to it. Even though they're in it. They're in the Braj Leela. Now, what to speak of hearing about Krishna departing Vrindavan? Don't want to hear that. So how is Rupa Goswami going to satisfy all three categories of devotees? The Acharyas explain he does that in Laghu Bhagavatamrita. How many of you have read the BBT rendition of Laghu Bhagavatamrita? There, Rupa Goswami explains how Krishna actually never leaves Vrindavan. That way, Rupa Goswami keeps everyone happy by presenting that science. Otherwise, the Brijbasis are going to be in anxiety no matter what. So Rupa Goswami is showing Krishna really never takes a step out of Vrindavan. He's always present in a special manifestation. So I've been studying Krishna's departure from Vrindavan at a point that I can more easily handle. When Akrura has Krishna and Balaram on the chariot, this is past the heartbreaking scene of the gopis surrounding the chariot and even trying to block the chariot and watching the chariot disappearing down the road until it's only the dust can be seen and they're transfixed just watching. Krishna's gone. Krishna's pacified them by saying, I'll return. They're partially pacified. So Akrura gets to the Yamuna River, and he wants to take bath there, and Krishna and Balaram also. They first take bath there. And then Akrura, when Krishna and Balaram go back to the chariot, Akrura then goes into the Yamuna to take his bath, and it's Gayatri time. So the traditional way of saying your Gayatri is you half submerge in the Yamuna and do your Gayatri mantra. So Akrura is doing that. And then suddenly he sees in the water, there's Krishna and Balaram. So wait a minute, they're on the chariot, right? He goes back to the chariot to check, and they're on the chariot. Then he says, okay, let me go back to the Yamuna, see what's happening there. He goes back to the Yamuna, and what does he see? Balaram has become Ananta Shesh, and Krishna's become Mahavishnu. And so Akrura is astonished. He realizes, because he, in an extended kinship relationship, he's Krishna's uncle. He realizes, this is not just my nephew. Look what I'm seeing. So then he recites his famous prayers, prayers by Akrura. How many of you remember that from Krishna book, prayers by Akrura? What's special about Akrura's prayers? Just as Shukadeva Goswami is certified as having achieved perfection by talking about Krishna, and Parikshit Maharaj by hearing about Krishna, Prahlad Maharaj by remembering Krishna, similarly Akrura is granted perfection through praying about Krishna. His prayers are very full of awe and reverence. He's not a Brijbasi. Still, significantly, he's cited in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as demonstrating the perfection of prayer. So he sees Mahavishnu, he sees Ananta Shesh, and he's stunned. So he offers his prayers, and then he goes back to the chariot. Why? Because suddenly Krishna has withdrawn that vision. That vision is not material. It's not the universal form. He's showing his expansion of an expansion as Mahavishnu and Balaram as Ananta Shesh. But he withdraws it suddenly because Krishna's not at all attached to it, the Acharyas point out. He doesn't consider it so important. And also, he's not so moved by Akrura's prayers, believe it or not. Awe and reverence prayers. This is a Brijbasi thing, the Acharyas point out, that as Chaitanya Charitamrita states, Krishna says, so many flowery prayers, so many ornate prayers, they don't give me the pleasure that I get when my mother chastises me or when my fiancés when they criticize me, reproach me. Those official prayers of the Vedas, they don't do it for me. So it's interesting that although Akrura is cited as having achieved perfection by his prayers, Krishna is not so impressed at the deepest level, you could say. So Krishna, without saying anything, withdraws that vision. Akrura gets back to the chariot. His eyes are like in astonishment. And Krishna very nonchalantly asks him, did you see something special? Did you see something in the land, in the water, in the sky? We, meaning Balaram and I, noticed that you seem to be stunned. And Akrura responds that, having seen you, I've seen whatever wonders can be seen on the land, in the sky, in the water. Having seen you, I've seen it all. So then he gets on the chariot and starts driving toward Mathura. Now, where is Nanda Maharaj and where are the cowherd men? Remember, they also left Vrindavan? Where are they? They were following behind, but Akrura and Krishna and Balaram on their chariot did that side stop, that road stop at the Yamuna to bathe. So Nanda Maharaj and his cowherd, the elder cowherd men, continued up the road, and they thought, we'll catch up with them. But they didn't know they were ahead. So they got further ahead by taking a shortcut through the forest. The cowherd men, they know all these things. So they got to Mathura, the outskirts of Mathura. They got there first. And so they're already feeling separation from Krishna. And so they're waiting in some groves outside of Mathura. They're waiting, and Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd men are staring down the road, wondering when Krishna and Balaram and Akrura are going to show up. So, you know they're late. Krishna and Balaram are late because of that stop and that experience by Akrura seeing what he saw on the Yamuna River. So they finally arrive. And then Krishna takes Akrura's hand in his and says, all right, you go ahead to the city of Mathura and tell Kamsa we've arrived. We are not going to go just now to the city. We need to rest a bit. Krishna is holding Akrura's hand, that's his uncle, and smiling a bit. But the nature of Krishna's smile is very interesting. It's kind of a half smile, because as the acharyas point out, Krishna, upon seeing Mathura just up ahead, is feeling separation from Vrindavan. So he's put on a happy face, so to speak. He's feeling transcendental separation from Vrindavan, while talking to Akrura and holding Akrura's hand and saying, you go ahead, we'll wait here. We'll go later, it was already evening time, but we'll go later after resting a bit. You go ahead and tell Kamsa. Now, what was Akrura's response? He wanted Krishna to come to his home for a home program. Sometimes devotees, just like our Dina Dayala Devi was inviting me to her home with her and Gopinath Prabhu and do a program. I said, well, usually I try to avoid that, because if I do one, then everyone says, you went to so-and-so's house, come to my house. But later this morning while I was chanting, actually the thought came to me, I shouldn't have refused her. She's such an older, one of the oldest devotees I have in New Zealand. So I might have to surrender. Seniority means something in Vaishnava culture. So Akrura doesn't like this. He wants Krishna and Balaram, especially Krishna. Come to my home. Rest there. Let me worship you there. And he lays it on thick with his awe and reverence approach. Prabhu, Master, Nata, Controller, Lord, Adokshita, Transcendent Lord. Yadutama, best of the Yadu dynasty. Come to my home. I don't care about Kamsa. No need for me to go tell Kamsa you've arrived. He'll be dead in a couple of days. Please come to my home. And Krishna's not agreeing. Akrura tells him, come to my home, let me bathe your feet. And Krishna replies, the acharyas point out. Krishna replies, you can take some dust from my feet and some water that's washed my feet. You can take that now and then go home. I don't have to go there. But Akrura replies, no, I want the whole process of washing the feet in my home, just like Bali Maharaj. You got so much benefit by washing the feet of Vamanadev, those feet that the Ganga has poured over because Vamanadev's toe punctured a hole in the universal coverings, and the Ganga has flowed over those feet. So I want the same benefit. So he was pouring on thick all these different names of Krishna. Prabhu, Nata, Adokshita. What does Krishna conclude? You call me Yadutama, the best of the Yadu dynasty. Therefore, in order to be Yadutama, as you have said, I have to go rescue my father and mother from Kamsa. Then I can be properly known as Yadutama. So Krishna turned the tables on him. Then I can be known as best of the Yadu dynasty. How can I come to your house and enjoy when my mother and father, Vasudeva and Devaki, are in prison? I can't do that. So with a heavy heart, Akrura went home alone. But Krishna told him, after killing Kamsa, I will come. So that kind of pacified Akrura. Meanwhile, underneath it all, Krishna's feeling separation from Vrindavan. As he looks ahead up the road and sees the actual city of Mathura. They're on the outskirts now in a grove. But as he looks ahead and sees Mathura city, it looks exciting. He and Balaram are excited to go sightseeing in Mathura. But still he's feeling traces of separation from Vrindavan. So Akrura, on the one hand, he's feeling heavy-hearted. Krishna's not coming, but he will come in 2 days or so after killing Kamsa. So that's making him feel enthusiastic. So what does he do? He goes home and cleans the whole house because he knows in 2 days Krishna's coming. He doesn't do anything else. He just cleans the house, the acharyas say, and waits for Krishna to come. So Krishna's chariot moves up the road, and villagers, simple villagers on the outskirts of town, they get to see Krishna. And their eyes are all captured by the sight of Krishna. And Krishna makes sure that he's actually walking now. He makes sure that he and Balaram walk very slowly so everyone can get an eyeful. What you're going to hear next time I speak, you're going to hear about what I learned the down under term for it. In the USA, it's called juvenile delinquent. Here it's called youth offender, right? Krishna and Balaram are going to be the foremost youth offenders. They're going to cause havoc in Mathura for Kamsa. So they want to go sightseeing. Just like you, when you travel, you want to see the sights. If you don't travel so much, you're into sightseeing. I was telling that to Rasayatra and Julian Yatra when they came back from their trip to Europe. Oh, we saw this, we saw that. I said, well, for someone who travels all the time, who wants to see the Vatican? Who wants to see the Acropolis? But I understand, especially here in New Zealand. It's like Madhava was telling me yesterday how it's just too small here. He wants to see the world. I told him I can understand. I told him if I were 17, I would also think like that. So that sightseeing urge comes from the ultimate source. This is the point. Janmadi yasyataha. The absolute truth is that from which everything emanates. So Krishna is the original sightseer. He and Balaram want to see the sights in the big city. They're village boys. Up until now. So we also have that tendency in us. No doubt I probably would have felt like that maybe 40 or 50 years ago, but after 50 years of international traveling, just like when we have our BBT meetings, usually they're in Europe. And so most of the BBT directors, they're householders, and they don't travel. This is their big trip of the year. So, we're in Italy. Let's go to the beach. Let's go to the Vatican. Let's go this, that, the other, Michelangelo, this, whatever. And the sannyasis are like, can we just not move for a couple of days? Can we stay in one place for a couple of days? So, Krishna and Balaram are the original sightseers. And we're going to hear, next time I speak, we're going to hear about the sights of Dwarka were sensational in terms of opulence. And the reception that Krishna and Balaram are going to get when they actually enter the city is inconceivable. We could go on and on and on. It's Krishna Katha with Braj in the background because the residents of Mathura are going to refer to the residents of Vrindavan like, they get to see that every day, Krishna and Balaram? Wow. And Sukadeva Goswami presents that in the present tense, not they got to see Krishna and Balaram every day. They say they get to see Krishna and Balaram every day, implying Krishna and Balaram will return. And at a deeper level, they haven't left. So we've covered a lot of territory today. The possibility of forgetting material desires and the need to be practical. Do you have look in the mirror. Do you see a material body? That means their material desires present in that body due to the seeds of past karma. So we have to be tolerant, realistic. Just like you're tolerant about the rain. How can you live in New Zealand and be intolerant of rain? Actually, Srila Prabhupada said when he came here that he was, with his magnanimous vision, he said, this must be a pious place because of so much rain and fresh grass for the cows. So, you all, I'm always worried if it rains during the festival, everyone's going to be depressed. But at least the New Zealanders, rain, another day, life goes on. And as I said, the people from Sydney, the devotees from Sydney are thinking relief from 40 degrees heat. So you don't, your life doesn't fall apart. You admit there's some discomfort, but you push on with your devotional service. That's the point. So again, that statement from Bhagavad Gita's purport. Lost the inclination to act on the desires, even though they're present. Now, someone yesterday was asking about making prayers for material things. Was it Braj Kumari? Yes. Who specializes in approaching Krishna with material desires and shows the classic example? Dhruva Maharaj. He had the biggest material desires. And Narada Muni said, all right, I'll give you a program of sadhana, and that sadhana will bring you the presence of Krishna, and that will fulfill your material desires. Remember how Dhruva got to the forest in the first place? His mother told him, because he went crying to his mother. He had been insulted by his stepmother, Saruchi. When he got to his mother, she was already informed. The palace grapevine had already told her, your son's been severely insulted by Saruchi. What did Saruchi tell him? Dhruva was trying to get on the lap of his father with his half-brother, Saruchi's son. And Saruchi told him, with the father, Uttanapad, listening, she said, Dhruva, you've taken birth from the wrong woman. If you ever want to sit on your father's lap, meaning if you ever want to inherit the throne, you've got to perform austerities for hundreds of births, and then you might be lucky to be born from me. Ooh. Dhruva was shocked. He ran crying to his mother, who already was informed. She told him, actually, because his mother was she was married to Uttanapad, but she was out of favor. For some reason, Uttanapad was fixated on Saruchi and neglected Suniti. So she explained that to Dhruva. She's right. I don't have any influence. You've taken birth from the wrong woman. And yes, if you want to rectify the situation, you've got to perform some austerities. She said, there's someone more affectionate than millions of mothers like me. Dhruva wants to know, who's that? Vishnu. Vishnu, where do you find him? She said, I've heard from great sages and saints, you find Vishnu in the forest. Dhruva's gone. Gone to the forest. His ambition to get revenge was to have a greater kingdom than not only his father Uttanapad, not only his grandfather Swayambhuva Manu, but his great-great-grandfather Lord Brahma himself. He wanted to top him. Dhruva is the ultimate topper. All based on material desire. So Narada Muni gave him a program, how to fulfill his material desires by getting the darshan of Vishnu for material purposes. I was explaining this pastime at a weekend retreat we had in Melbourne in November. So many of they were new persons to bhakti mostly, chanting a few rounds or on the verge of full sadhana or on the verge of starting something. So many were relieved to hear, wow, okay, this is doable. Bhakti is doable. Yeah, okay. Because otherwise there's this notion that as soon as you walk into the door of the Association of Devotees, you got to be a pure devotee. Otherwise, there's no place for you. But this whole history of Dhruva shows that, yes, you can approach Krishna with material desires, and you're considered Sukriti, auspicious and full of merit, because you're approaching Krishna. So Shukadeva Goswami in the second canto says, Akama sarva kamava moksha kamu daraji. Whether you are free of material desires, full of material desires, or simply longing for liberation into the impersonal Brahman, engage in devotional service. Tivrena bhakti yogena. So in one purport in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada writes that this Krishna conscious society is for all types of persons, those free of material desires, those full of material desires. Let them all come, and by associating with advanced devotees, they become purified. So there's no such notion that first you become free of all material desires, then you come to bhakti, or bhakti is only for those free of all material desires. So this history of Dhruva Maharaj is very important in demonstrating that. And this verse I'm quoting from the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita and its purport is very mystical. And Prabhupada hints at it in this purport of our verse today. People become marveled. How have you, sometimes they become angry. How have you forgotten your material desires? Just like one devotee's son will be taking initiation in a couple of days. And so he's got to deal with peer pressure from the kids. Hey, who do you think you are, a Kijai Bliss boy? Getting too serious there. What is this? Yeah, Kirtan Kijai, but chanting 60 rounds every day. Hey, you're getting a bit out there. What's happened to you? You're our mate. You've gone overboard. So even amongst our own society of devotees, there can be some astonishment. Hey, what's happened to you? What's happened to your material program? You just want to hear and chant and hear and chant and engage in Krishna's service? Get a full life, come on. So just think about that. Study that purport. The rivers are pouring into the ocean, but the ocean doesn't cross its brinks. Similarly, material desires may come, but you don't act on them. You've lost the inclination to act on them because of your fullness in bhakti. Your brain is washed, it's clean, and your mind is under control, not in of itself, but because of your fullness of engagement in devotional service. So every ashram has to figure out how to do that. As Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings, Grihe Tako, Vane Tako, Sadahare Bole Tako. Whether you're a householder, renunciate, chant Hare Krishna. All right, any questions?